They're mad. Would you just lower your microphone down a little bit so you're talking over there you go, and then just angle it up to your mouth a little bit. Brilliant.
Up to my whale's mouth.
Whale's mouth. Welcome, everybody. I started recording like 30 seconds ago.
No.
Yeah. First and foremost, a warning. A warning of what, you ask? A warning of the fact that Mrs. Deathly and I have had a bit of a drink. And are continuing to have a bit of a drink. We make no promises that the language will remain entirely unfruity.
I would promise that it will become fruity.
It's definitely going to become fruity at some
I'm
point.
on the cusp of a fruit right now.
We are going to attempt to read for you several dozen, I don't even know, how many pages is this thing? Oh my God.
61.
Is it 61 pages?
Yeah.
You already looked, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's not as long as I thought it would be. 61 pages
It's fine, we're just reading really fast.
of A Christmas Carol, adapted by my good self. We originally performed this back in 2020.
Yeah.
With a team of professional actors taking on the many roles.
Of which we include ourselves.
Yeah, you, not me. I'm professional tit. I'll go for that. Professional tit. Idiot. Ginger buffoon. And I originally wrote the following introduction. Good evening, and a most deathly dark Christmas to you all. A Christmas Carol, in prose, being a ghost story of Christmas, or, as it is more commonly known, A Christmas Carol. First published in 1843 by Chapman & Hall, a London-based publishing house. This is very interesting stuff. Released on the 19th of December and sold out by Christmas Eve. By the following year, 13 editions had been released, and it has never been out of print since. In 1849, Dickens began to perform readings of the book, and they were so popular that he went on to do this over 100 times until his death in 1870. Over the years, argued if it is a pure story of Christmas, a spine-chilling ghost story, or, as we players gathered here, sounds better when there was like 6 of us, gathered here, like to think of it, a wonderful blend of the two. I am Dorian Deathly, and I will be your most humble narrator. And
Narrator.
Narrator, and then it says introduce the players.
Hello.
There's one of them.
My name is Dee Dee Deathly.
Yes.
Commonly found in York, filling in spreadsheets and talking to the public about their ghost fancying needs.
Ring. Hello.
Deathly Doctors, Dee Dee speaking.
Ah, yeah, I'm booked on the ghost tour, and it's 8:10 and there's no one here.
The tour actually starts at 8.
What? No, I'm booked on the tour at 8. I'm here. I'm on
tour's left.
Grape Lane. Just put it here.
The tour's gone because you're
Listen
late.
to me!
Shut up!
What? You can't tell me to shut up. I'm a paying I want to speak to your manager.
I am the manager.
Shut up.
Stick it up your ass. And we are fruity.
If you ever do book onto a ghost tour or any kind of theatrical endeavour, please don't turn up 5 minutes into it and demand to know why it started. Because she'll come for you.
I already have.
Yeah, then it says, welcome to A Deathly Dark Christmas Carol. Sound burst of music into solemn ambience.
Solemn ambience. Who do you think you are?
Now, before we go any further, a very brief, sensible moment. We are going to be making this available to patrons, and in some form it will be one-off purchasable. You're never going to eat a prawn cracker quietly. Who are you kidding? Come on. That's very
Go on.
very satisfying. Maybe if you suckle it. Oh, gross. Yes, it's December. Anyone who's joined Patreon this month, your entire fee, be it £5, £10, £15, £10 million, will be contributed to the British Tinnitus Foundation. Because as you know, me and Mercy Death and I, we live with basically that sound in your ear randomly, the sound of people eating prawn crackers as you're walking through the street, a distant rustle or a high-pitched squeak. And we're also going to be contributing a percentage of our monthly Patreon to round it up to a what the are you doing? I am trying to do a serious charitable announcement, and you're just there nomming down on a, to be honest, mildly stale prawn cracker.
Okay, it's gone now.
Is it an entire table of Quality Street in front of you? There's whiskey, I made you a cup of coffee, you got a bottle of soy sauce, and you went for the crispiest bastard on the table. You need to sort yourself out, lass. Come on, sort yourself out.
Right, come on, let's get on with this.
Let's crack on with it. It's going to be 5 hours long. We have not planned this. We have not allocated the parts, the roles. I would say traditionally people would expect me to start the story, but flip the table, do it.
Are we doing the narrator?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's me. I'm playing Dorian.
Yeah. And every now and again, one of us may shout switch, at which point we have to switch characters. Okay. Even if it's in the middle of a scene. Doesn't matter.
Probably not going to make any attempt to speak in their voices.
Go.
Marley was dead.
Let me give you some solemn ambience underneath it.
Okay. Marley was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead. Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years.
Carol of the bell.
Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole friend and his sole mourner, and even Scrooge was not so dreadfully cut up by the sad event, but that he was an excellent man of business on the very day of the funeral and solemnized it with an undoubted bargain. What does this mean, Dorian CTD?
That's when there was a page break and it means Dorian continued.
Okay.
Which means you keep speaking.
Lol.
Switch! The mention of Marley's funeral brings me back to the point I started from. There is no doubt that Marley was dead. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I am going to relate. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood years afterwards above the warehouse door. Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge, and sometimes Marley, but he answered to both names. It was all the same to him. This is my favourite line in the Christmas Carol. He was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, was old Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint, yet secret, self-contained, and solitary as an oyster. Dorian continued. Nobody ever stopped him in the street to say with gladsome looks, "My dear Scrooge, how are you?" No beggars asked him to no beggars implored him to do so a trifle. No children asked him, "Have you got a trifle? Could you, excuse me, Mr. Scrooge, could you bestow a trifle?"
Sherry trifle?
Yeah.
No, get lost.
Take a trifle.
Sticks up your ass.
Oh, why is everything going up the arse?
It's Christmas.
That's twice in. We're not even off page 3 yet, and you're already just double bum action. Wow. No one asked him what it was o'clock. No man or woman ever once in all of his life inquired the way to such and such a place as Scrooge. But what did Scrooge care? It was the very thing he liked, to edge his way along the crowded path of life, warning all human sympathy to keep its distance. Good evening!
Ding!
Ooh.
Ding! Ding! That was a clock chiming the hour of 3.
Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather, and he could hear the people in the court outside go wheezing up and down, beating their hands upon their breasts and stamping their feet upon the pavement stones to warm them. The city clocks had only just gone 3, as we very beautifully just heard, but it was quite dark already. It had not been light all day, and candles were flaring in the windows of the neighbouring offices like ruddy smears upon the palpable brown air. Was that brown air?
Palpable brown hair.
Palpable brown. Oh, are you all right? No, I've got palpable brown hair.
Oh, I'm so sorry. He passed away last week. He was suffering from the palpable brown hair.
Oh dear, you could smell him at the end of the lane, guffing out his palpable brown hair. And that palpable brown air came pouring in.
Pouring in at every keyhole.
It was so dense without that the houses opposite were mere phantoms. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open that he might keep his eye upon his clerk, a friendly-faced fellow by the name of Robert Cratchit, who was copying letters. Scrooge had a very small fire. Fire noises, please. but the clerk's fire was so very much smaller that it looked like one coal, wherefore the clerk put on his white comforter and tried to warm himself with the candle, which, in imagination, not being a man of strong imagination, tried to warm himself with the candle, in which effort, not being a man of strong imagination, he failed.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!
A cheerful voice filled the seemingly cavernous offices. It was the voice of Scrooge's nephew, Fred, bundled in layers of wool and dusted in a light covering of white snow.
Bah! Humbug!
Fred had so heated himself with rapid walking in the fog and frost, this nephew of Scrooge's, that he was all in a glow and his face was ruddy and handsome. His eyes sparkled and his breath smoked again.
Christmas? A humbug, Uncle? You don't mean that, I'm sure.
I do. Merry Christmas. What right do you have to be merry? What reason do you have to be merry? You're poor enough.
Come then, what right have you to be dismal? What reason have you to be morose? You're rich enough.
Bah! Humbug!
Don't be cross, Uncle.
What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas. Out upon Merry Christmas. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money, a time for finding yourself a year older but not an hour richer? If I could work my will, every idiot who goes around with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart.
Uncle!
Nephew, keep Christmas in your own way, and let me keep it in mine.
Keep it, but you don't keep
Let me
it.
leave it alone, then. Much good may it do you. Much good has it ever done you. Big block of text.
It was at this time that Fred's voice dropped. There are many things from which I might have derived good,
Did
by
Fred
which
just
I've not
rapidly into
profited.
puberty?
I dare say Christmas among the rest. But I'm sure I've always thought of Christmas time, when it's come around, as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable time, the only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women see... Are you eating Equality Street?
I am.
It's really noisy.
Toffee finger, mate. Carry on.
The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open up their shut-up hearts freely. Their shut-up hearts. And to think of people below them as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it's never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good and will do me good, and I say, God bless it.
I couldn't agree more, Master Fred.
Are you Scrooge as well?
Let me hear another sound from you, Mr. Cratchit. And once I've got my way through this toffee finger, you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. You're quite a powerful speaker, sir. It's a wonder you don't go into Parliament.
Don't be angry, Uncle. Come. Dine with us tomorrow.
I'll see you in hell first.
Why?
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love.
Because you fell in love. Good afternoon.
Nay, Uncle. But you never came to see me before that's happened. Why give it as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
How rude.
Well, we learned recently that good afternoon, and I don't know how historically accurate this is, considering it came from a Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell film. The good afternoon in the Victorian times was basically the olden day equivalent of fuck off. So basically Scrooge is just there going, off, off. Good afternoon. Right, Beck.
I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. But we've never had any quarrel, to which I've been a party. But I've made the trial in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humour to the last. So Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good
And a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon.
Bob, a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and all yours.
Why, thank you, Master Fred. All the best to you too. There's another fellow, my clerk, with 15 shillings a week, 15 crab shells a week, and and a wife and family talking about Merry Christmas. I'll retire to Bedlam.
Lol. Young Master Fred took his leave with a smile, but as he did, he near collided with two gentlemen seeking to enter the offices of Scrooge and Marley. They were portly, pleasant to behold, and now stood with their hats off in Scrooge's office. One named Edwards.
Good evening.
The other Thompson.
A pleasure.
Two of the city's finest gentlemen, a finer spirit to be found here is rare, with the exception of that fellow over there. A more... Oh, I'm reading this.
I noticed you were reading Fred as a narrator. I mean, at this point, I'm not sure how solidified the characters are. I think we'll be
A
fine.
more generous giving chap there isn't to be found across the length and breadth of London.
This was a lie. Scrooge and Marley's, I believe.
There's a long silence.
I am Mr. Thompson, and this is Mr. Edwards. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
That was another long silence, by the way. Mr. Marley!
What was that?
Mr. Marley's been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
You cannot play Ebenezer Scrooge
sorry.
like that. That is unacceptable. There is a lack of respect towards Charles Dickens, and then there is what you just did. What? Mr. Marley has been dead. You sounded like a Dalek that was on a sugar high. Come on, let's have a solid performance. Come on.
I can't do a Scrooge voice.
Mr. Marley.
Mr. Marley.
Shall I read Scrooge?
Yes, please.
And you can be Mr.
I
Thompson.
don't
and
want
Mr.
to offend Tricky
Okay.
Dickhead.
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
We have no doubt his generosity is well represented by his surviving partner.
It is, and then some. I am as generous a man as Mr. Marley ever was.
Cratchit coughs and splutters into his tea. Oh, can you get me a new tea? That one's ruined.
I was genuinely concerned for you there. I thought something terrible had happened.
At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it's more than usually desirable that we'd make some slight provision for the poor and destitute, who suffer greatly at this present time. Many thousands are in want of common necessaries. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comforts, sir.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons, sir.
And the union workhouses? Are they still in operation?
They are. Still, I wish I could say they were not.
The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigour then?
Both very busy, sir.
Oh, I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. I'm very glad to hear it.
A few of us are endeavouring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink. Oh, I'll have a meat and drink, please.
1 meat and drink, please.
That's £10. And means
In the
of-
Victorian times? Holy shit!
That's 10 threepences.
That's what my house cost.
You'll pay £10 for the meat and drink,
And
or
you'll
you'll
what?
sling your hook.
I'll sling my bloody hook then.
Fine. Do you want the means of warmth?
Yeah, I do actually.
We choose this time because it is a time of all others when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
You wish to be anonymous.
I wish to be left alone. Since you ask me what I wish, gentlemen, that is my answer. I don't make idle myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the establishments I have mentioned. They cost enough, and those who are badly off must go there.
Many can't go there, and many would rather die.
If they would rather die, they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, excuse me, I don't know that.
But you might know it.
It is not my business to know it. It's enough for a man to understand his own business, and mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Rude. Seeing clearly that it would be useless to pursue their point, the gentleman withdrew, and Scrooge resumed his labours with an improved opinion of himself and in a fouler temper than before. Meanwhile, the fog and darkness thickened. The ancient tower of a church whose gruff old bell was always peeping slyly down at Scrooge.
Oh,
The gruff old bell?
Bong.
out of a Gothic window in the wall,
Bong.
became invisible and struck the hours and quarters in the clouds with tremulous vibrations afterwards.
Tremulous vibration.
Bong, as if its teeth were chattering in its frozen head up there.
Bong.
The cold became intense in the main street. At the corner of the court, some labourers were repairing the gas pipes and had lighted a great fire in a brazier, round which a party of ragged men and boys were gathered, warming their hands and winking their eyes before the blaze in rapture. Foggier yet, and colder, piercing, searching, biting cold.
You'll want all day tomorrow, I presume.
Oh, if quite convenient, sir.
It is not convenient. It is not fair. If I were to stop you half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound. And yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work.
It is Christmas Day, Mr. Scrooge, and you're only inconvenienced one day a year.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. But be here all earlier the next morning.
Yes, sir, Mr. Scrooge. Merry good day.
The office was closed in a twinkling, and the clerk, with the long ends of his white comforter dangling below his waist, ran home to Camden Town as hard as he could. Scrooge took in his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tablet and beguiled the rest of the evening with his melancholy banker's book. Went home to bed. He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner, Jacob Marley. They were a gloomy room of suites. They were a gloomy suite of rooms. Got that the wrong way round. In a sad pile of bricks up a yard where it had so little business to be that one could scarcely help thinking it must have been there. It must have run there when it was a young house, playing at hide-and-seek with other houses, and have forgotten the way out again. Ooh, what a lovely little sentence that is. Now, it is a fact. There was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large. It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen these large knockers night and morning during his whole residence in that place. Let it also be known in Scrooge's mind he had not bestowed one thought on Marley since his last mention of his 7 years dead partner that afternoon. And then, let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that he saw, having his key in the lock of the door, the knocker, without it undergoing any intermediate process of change, not a pair of dangling knockers, but Marley's face.
Jacob Marley.
It was not an impenetrable shadow, as the other objects in the yard were, but had a dismal light about it. It was not angry or ferocious, but looked at Scrooge as Marley used to look, with ghostly spectacles turned up on its ghostly forehead. The hair was curiously stirred, as if by breath or hot air, and though the eyes were wide open, they were perfectly motionless. And as Scrooge looked at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. Humbug! To say he was not startled would be untrue, but he put his hand upon the key he had relinquished, turned it sturdily, walked in, and lighted his candle. He did pause with a moment's irresolution before he shut the door, and he did look cautiously behind it first, as if he half expected to be terrified with the sight of Marley's pigtails sticking out into the hall, but there was nothing... That was a leap of logic there. There was nothing on the back of the door except the screws and the nuts that held the knocker on, so he closed it with a bang. The sound resounded through the house like thunder. Every room above, every cask in the wine merchant cellars below appeared to have a separate peal of echoes. Now, Scrooge was not a man to be frightened by echoes. He fastened the door, walked across the hall and up the stairs. Up Scrooge went, not caring a button for the dark. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. All I can hear there is Gonzo from the Muppet.
Yeah.
Darkness is cheap. That was more like Yoda than Gosman.
I don't know what happened.
Before he shut his heavy door, he walked through his rooms to see that all was right. Nobody under the table, nobody under the sofa, small fire in the grate, spoon and basin ready, and a little saucepan of the gruel upon the hob. Nobody under the bed, basically nobody in the house is what we're driving at here. Satisfied, he closed the door, locked himself in, and settled back in the chair. His glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in the room. It was with great astonishment, and with a strange, inexplicable dread, that he looked. He saw the bell begin to swing. It swung so softly in the outset that it scarcely made a sound, but it rang out loudly,
Dong.
and so did
Dong.
every bell in the
Ding dong,
house.
dong, ding dong, 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 dong,
This might have
dong.
lasted half a minute or a minute. And
Ding
it's
dong.
really difficult to tell between the two because they're very, very small measurements of time. But it seemed like an hour the bell ceased as soon as they had begun together. And they were succeeded by a clanking noise deep down below, as if some person were dragging a heavy chain.
Or a bag of potatoes.
Or a bag of potatoes. Call back. The cellar door flew open with a booming sound, and then he heard the noise much louder, on the floors below, coming up the stairs, straight towards the door. It's humbug still. I won't believe it.
His colour changed, though, when without a pause, a phantom came on through the heavy door and passed into the room before his eyes.
I know you. I know you. What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Can you sit down?
I can.
Do it then.
You don't believe in me.
I don't.
What evidence would you have of my reality beyond that of your own senses?
I don't know.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them. Slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheat. You might be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of a Percy pig, a crumb of a Terry's chocolate orange, a fragment of an underdone hash brown. Aye, there's more of KFC gravy than the grave about you, whatever you are. You see this toothpick?
I do,
You're not looking at it.
but I see it nevertheless.
Well, I have to but swallow this, and for the rest of my days be persecuted by a legion of goblins, all of my own creation. Humbug, I tell you! Humbug! At this point, the spirit raised a dreadful cry, and shook its chain with a dismal and appalling noise that Scrooge held on tight to his chair to save himself from falling in a swoon. But much greater, how much greater was the horror when the phantom, taking off the bandage round its head, as if it were too warm to wear indoors, its lower jaw dropped down upon its breast. Quick side note, that noise came out of Mrs. Destiny's throat, and is a noise that, not recently, but over the last few years, I was very frequently woken up by you making. But you've not made that noise in years. Like 2 years. It's almost like my presence has finally brought you peace.
Yeah.
Mercy, dreadful apparition. Why do you trouble me?
Do you believe in me or not?
I do. I must. Why do spirits walk the earth? And why do they come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men, and travel far and wide, and if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world and witness what it cannot share but might have shared on earth.
You are fettered, old partner. Tell me why.
Got a bloody chain round my neck.
Fair.
Yes, I made it link by link, yard by yard. I girded it on my own free will. And of my own free will I wore it. Its pattern... Is its pattern strange to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe. Not sure
Would you
yet.
know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? Yours was as full, as heavy, as long as this. 7 Christmas Eves ago. You've laboured on it since.
Yep.
It is a ponderous chain.
Jacob. Old Jacob Marley. Speak comfort to me.
No, get lost.
Fair enough.
I can't rest. I can't stay.
I can't
I cannot
rest.
linger anywhere.
I've just had enough. I'm bloody
Spirits
knackered.
never walked beyond our counting house, never rose beyond the narrow limits of our money-changing hole. And now, weary journeys lie before me.
You must have been very slow about it, Jacob.
Slow?
7 years dead. And travelling the whole time.
The whole time, no rest, no peace, just the incessant torture of remorse.
You travel fast.
On the wings of the wind.
You must have got over a great quantity of ground in 7 years.
Oh, captive bound and double iron, not to know that any Christian spirit, working kindly in its little sphere, whatever it may be, will find its mortal life too short for its vast mean of usefulness. Not to know that no space or regret can make amends for one life's opportunities misused. Yet such was I.
But you were always such a good man of business, Jacob.
Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, Mercy, forbearance and benevolence were all very big words.
Switch! The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. At this time of every year,
Mrs. Nixon.
why did I walk through the crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down, and never raise them to that blessed star which led the wise men to a poor abode, where the no poor homes to which light would have conducted me? Hear me! My time is nearly gone.
Just take him. Take him.
Oh, God.
take him.
I don't want to offend him.
You won't offend him. He's a fictitious character.
I will. But don't be hard on me. Don't be flowery, Jacob. I pray.
How it is that I appear before you in a shape that you cannot see, I may not tell. I have sat invisible beside you many a day. That is no light part of my penance. Yet I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a fate and hope of my escaping my fate, man.
Mangled that up, didn't I? No take-backs.
A chance and hope of my becoming Ebenezer.
You were always a good friend to me.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
I think I'd rather not.
Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tells 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once and have it over?
You really changed the meaning of that line. Damn.
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and look not for your head's sake. You remember what has passed between us.
You okay, hon?
Insert rapturous applause. You're welcome.
Wow.
When it has said these words, the spirit took its wrapper from the table, bound it round its head as before. Scrooge knew this by the smart sound its teeth made. When the jaws were brought together by the bandage, he ventured to raise his eyes again. The apparition was walking backward from him, and at every step it took, the window raised itself a little, so when the spectre reached it, it was wide open. The air was filled with phantoms wandering in a restless haste, moaning as they went. Every one of them wore chains like Marley's ghost, and some few were linked together. None were free. Many had been personally known to Scrooge in their lives. And whether these creatures faded into mist, or mist enshrouded them, he could not tell. But they and their spirits' voices faded together, and the night became as it had been when he walked home. Scrooge closed the window, examined the door by which the ghost had entered. It was double locked, and he had locked it with his own hands. The bolts were undisturbed. He went straight to bed, without undressing, and fell asleep on the instant. It says here, check in with actors. How are you?
I really enjoyed making Scrooge into a drag queen.
Yeah, you definitely turned him into a fruity old chap. Might I take them all at once and get it over with? Climb on into my 4-poster bed, Jacob Marley.
If you don't mind, I'd like to continue reading Scrooge as a drag queen.
I have no issue or strong emotional feeling about how you do portray Ebenezer Scrooge tonight. Yeah, a brief pause, and then we'll crack on with part 2.
Lovely.
Right. Part 2, the first visit.
Get it down, you love.
Cheers.
Oh, what are you drinking tonight?
Still Glaver.
Oh, of course.
Just warm in the old pipes. Oh, it, on the tongue. On the tongue. Get on with it. Come on.
Okay. So am I doing narrator?
Well, you don't want to be Scrooge, do you? We've figured that much out.
Oh, I can do Scrooge. I was just really drunk last time.
I mean, you're still drunk now. It's the same night. They say, giving
I was
the
drunk
illusion of theatre.
last time.
You mean a few moments ago?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely didn't bail on the first night and go home, and then this is 2 days later. What?
When Scrooge awoke, it was by the sound of the chimes of a neighbouring church which filled his ears.
To the brim.
To his great astonishment, the heavy bell went on from 6 to 7, and from 7 to 8, and regularly up to 12, then stopped. 12! It was past 2 when he went to bed. The clock was wrong.
Why, it isn't possible that I have slept through a whole day and far into another night. It isn't possible that anything has happened to the sun. This is 12 at noon.
The more he thought, the more perplexed he was. Marley's ghost bothered him exceedingly every time he resolved within himself that it was a dream. His mind flew back again. Was it a dream or not? Scrooge lay in this state until the chime had gone 3/4 more. He resolved to lie awake until the hour was past. The quarter was so long that he was convinced he must have missed the clock. At length it broke upon his listening ear, and in that instant the curtains of his bed were drawn aside. Not the curtains at his feet, nor the curtains at his back, but those to which his face was addressed. And
It's a really good job. He's taken a long time here to address which curtains they were. Like, this is 4 paragraphs dedicated to be like, which specific curtains we're talking about. Just be like, the curtains at Scrooge's feet.
right.
I've done his job in a
Can I make
sentence.
a little edit?
Go on.
Okay. So
Charles Dickens currently rotating like a rotisserie chicken in his grave.
the curtains were open, and at the end of his bed was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as an old man, viewed through some supernatural medium. Messed up. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
Yeah, I am.
Who and what are you?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. That's not the voice I'm using.
Okay, what's the voice you're going to use for the Ghost of Christmas Past, please?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Oh, that's very Muppets Christmas Carol. I like it.
Yeah?
I like it.
Long past.
Your past.
Might I inquire what business has brought you here?
Your welfare.
I think a night of unbroken rest would be more conducive to that end.
Your reclamation, then. Rise, walk with me.
It would have been in vain for Scrooge to plead that the weather and the hour were not... Basically, he didn't want to go. But then, he went anyway.
I cannot walk with you out of that window. I am mortal and liable to fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand. There, and you should be upheld in more than this. What does that even mean?
I don't know what a lot of it means, I'll be honest with you. When I'm sometimes reading old
Let me
ghost stories...
touch you and you'll be able to fly.
Touch me hand and we'll fly.
Touch me hand and we'll fly, love.
We're walking in the air. What came first? This did, because it's from the Victor. As the words were spoken, they passed the wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it. It was a clear, cold winter day with snow upon the ground.
Good heaven. I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
Your lip is trembling. And what is that upon your cheek?
Just a pimple, nothing more. Thanks for noticing it, by the way.
All right, Spotty.
Rude.
You recollect the way?
It's the Victorian times. We literally live on nothing but pork rinds and gruel. Piss, if we're happy. It's the best part of vinegary piss to wash down the pork gruel.
Scrooge.
Sorry, my complexion isn't
You
what it
forget
once
yourself.
was. For God's sake, fucking outrageous. Do you know who I am? I'm Ebenezer Scrooge!
The end. Scrooge found himself condemned to hell. And no, there's more. There's more.
I could walk it blindfold. Every gate, every post, every tree, a little market town in the distance with its bridge, its church, and its winding river.
Strange to have forgotten it for so many years. Let us go on.
They left the high road by a well-remembered lane and found themselves outside an old building with walls damp and mossy, windows broken, and gates decayed.
Oh, skipped a bit there.
Yeah,
didn't you?
I'm editing on the fly.
Nice.
These
clever.
people have got places to be,
And now
things to
we've
do.
made up for it.
Yeah, it doesn't really work as an edit if I have to then go back and explain myself to you. Get on with it.
The school is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still a lonely, lonely Billy No-Mates.
He's a lonely boy. A door at the back of the house opened before them and disclosed a long, bare, melancholy room. What do you call a small, tragic, fruit-shaped dog? A melancholy. Where a lonely boy was reading near a feeble fire.
I know it well. It was always the same.
Let us see another Christmas.
Scrooge's former self grew larger at the words, and the room became a darker and more dirty place. Scrooge looked at the ghost. Yeah, I pulled that back, didn't I? And the mournful shaking of the head, glancing anxiously toward the door. It opened, and a little girl, much younger than he was, came darting in. This is my least favourite scene in the whole thing. I find the character of Fan to be so infuriating.
Can we just skip it?
She's like, "Oh, dear brother, I've come to bring you home, dear brother. To bring you home, dear brother. Dear brother. Brother.
Home, Fan.
Yes, home for good and all, for ever and ever. Father is so much kinder than he used to be, that home's like heaven now." What she's saying is, since you got out the way, Ebenezer, home's brilliant. Come back. He spoke so gently to me one dear night that when I was going to bed, but I was not afraid to ask him once more if you could come home. And he said, "Yes, you should," and sent me in a coach to bring you. We're to be together for all Christmas long, and at the merriest time in all the world.
You are quite a woman, little Fan.
Bring down your things, and we shall leave them aboard the coach. Oh dear Ebenezer, this will be the best Christmas ever.
Always a delicate creature, whom a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart.
Again, due to the piss and the pork rinds, it's an enlarged cardiac issue. So she had.
You're right, no, Scrooge, you're right. I will not gainsay it, spirit, God forbid.
She died a woman, and had, as I think, children.
One child.
True, your nephew.
Fred. Yes.
Plot twist.
Let us see another Christmas.
They were now in the streets of a busy city, and it was made plain enough by the dressing of the shops that here, too, it was Christmas time again. But it was evening, and the streets were lighted up. The ghost stopped at a certain warehouse door.
Do you know this place?
Knew it. Yeah, he was apprenticed here.
All right, no need to be cheeky.
They went in and were greeted by the sight of an old gentleman in a Welsh wig. I'm not sure what a Welsh wig is. Sitting behind such a high desk that if he had been 2 inches taller, he would have knocked his head against the ceiling.
Why, it's old Fezziwig, bless his heart. Is Fezziwig alive again?
Oh, Ebenezer!
Dick!
Dick Wilkins, to be sure, bless me, yes, there he is, very much alive.
No, very much. He was always very much alive and attached to me.
Dick was attached to you.
Dick was attached to me.
Yo-ho, my boys. No more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick. Christmas, Ebenezer. Let's have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson. Hilly-ho. Clear away, my lads, and let's have lots of room here. Hilly-ho. Dick! Cheer up, Ebenezer.
Why, you wouldn't believe how those two fellows went at it. They charged into the street with the shutters. 1, 2, 3, had them up in our places. 4, 5, 6, barred them and pinned them. 7, 8, 9, and came back before you could have got to 12, panting like racehorses.
A Merry Christmas to all. Now, as that delicious young wife of mine.
Do you want to kick the table any harder?
Sorry.
You undermined your amazing performance there
Mrs.
by
Fezziwig would never say that.
kipping the absolute beans out of the desk. And you've got your
Kipping?
Doc Martin boots with metal studs on them, just to really drive home the insult. These poor people, they didn't come here for that sort of thing. They came here for some incredibly nuanced, elegant Dickens. And there you are, kicking the absolute out of the desk and bum, 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 bum.
Guess what?
May I carry on?
You may be Mrs. Fezziwig.
Where's that handsome young buck of mine? I can't see him anywhere. All I see is his plump, noble old man. That's rude.
I just want to say,
Yes.
that's the exact accent that I gave her when we did it last time.
Yeah? I mean, it's all you can do is, "Oh, Mrs. Fezziwig. Ooh.
Young buck of mine.
Buck of mine.
Plump. It's a belly full of Christmas that makes me this round.
No other way would I have you, you old fool." She, within a state of moments, she's like, "You fat idiot." Merry Christmas, you fat idiot. Oh my God, it's spousal abuse. This is. Fezziwig's
Sure
probably.
is.
No wonder he's overeating. He's very traumatized.
Fool enough for a dance. Everybody take up a partner. Dick!
Dick! In came a fiddler with a music book, and up went the lofty desk, and they made an orchestra of it. In came all the young men and women. employed in the business. In came the housemaid, her cousin, basically loads of people came in, and there were mince pies and cakes and beer. And then the clock struck 11, and Mr. and Mrs. Fezziwig took their stations, one on either side of the door, shaking hands with every person as he or she went out, wishing them a Merry Christmas.
And that's how they all got COVID.
Oh my God. Just coughing into their hands. Thank you so much.
A small matter to make these silly folks so ill.
Small.
I mean, full of gratitude.
Small.
Why, is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money, 3 or 4 perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves praise?
It isn't that, Spirit. That was a dramatic pause there. It wasn't. I'd forgotten to say some words. He has the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome. His power lies in words and looks, in things so light and insignificant that it is almost impossible to add and count them up. The happiness he gives is quite as if it cost a fortune.
Dick!
What? No, carry on, Richard. Unbelievable.
What is the matter?
Nothing particular.
Something, I think.
No, I should just like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit, now, that's all.
My time grows short. Quick!
I feel like Christmas Past has done it at this point.
Yeah.
Like, by this point, he's like, oh, okay. The other two are redundant, I think. I think they're just laying it on. He's like, oh, man, yeah, I've been a bad boy.
Oh, well, what comes next is even worse.
Oh, what the huge amount of... Oh, no. I've realised what...
Yeah.
The love is gone. It's back in the film now.
Love has
They've
gone.
restored it. It's back.
Of course it has, because the world loves misery.
Mm-hmm. I always felt that in Muppets Christmas Carol it happened too quickly. When I'm saying here it happened, it's already happened.
Yeah.
I don't feel it was very portrayed. I feel like Michael Caine, being a thoughtful, professional actor like ourselves, probably had a wonderful journey for the Ebenezer Scrooge mapped out and knew where he was at each point. That's what works about Muppets Christmas Carol, isn't it? The fact that like he brings such gravitas in a film surrounded by a lot of felt Muppets.
What?
Yeah, it's a conversation we'll have
Felt?
outside. Shh, they're totally living creatures. You're fine. Don't worry about it. So we'll talk about it later. Yeah, and then they cut out that huge pivotal moment, which they obviously don't really have. Their love is gone. They love it gone.
Love is gone.
Who do you want to be? Do you want Belle or young Scrooge?
I'll be Belle.
Belle, great. Can't wait for this. This was not addressed to Scrooge. What was the line before that? Let's repeat.
My time grows short. Quick.
This was not addressed. This is not addressed to Scrooge or Dick, but it produced an immediate effect. For again, Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of his life. There was an eager, greedy, restless motion of the eye. I know that well. He showed the passion which he had taken root in where the shadow of the growing tree would fall. He was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl in a mourning dress, as mourning as in M-O-U, mourning. Not, I've confused the situation now, a sad-looking dress, in whose eyes there were tears.
It matters little to you.
Love is gone.
Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
Dick, a golden one.
This is the even-handed dealing of the world. There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty, and there is nothing it professes to condemn with such ability as the pursuit of wealth. You idiot.
You fear the world too much.
Good afternoon.
All your other hopes have merged into
I said good afternoon.
hope of being beyond chance of its sordid reproach. I've seen your noble aspirations fall off one by one until the master passion,
So tedious.
gain, engrosses you, have I not?
What then? Even if I have grown so much the wiser, what then? That's so scathing, isn't it? What then? You absolute idiot. You fat idiot.
Oh,
Not you.
You looked into my eyes when you said that.
He's just so mean. I am not changed towards you. Am I? So sassy, even for the Victorian times.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so until, in good season, we could improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy.
Your own feeling tells you that you are not what you are. I am that which promised happiness when we were one in heart is fraught with misery now that we are two. How often and how keenly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it and can release you.
Have I ever sought release?
In words? No, never.
In what then? Tell me.
Changed
in a long
nature,
paragraph.
in an altered spirit, in everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight. If this had never been between us, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now?
You think not. And yet, tell me in another really long paragraph. This one twice as long as the previous one. Please, Belle. Tell me.
I don't want to.
Swap.
Damn it. I would gladly think otherwise if I could. But if you were free today, tomorrow, yesterday, could I believe that you would choose a dowerless girl? You will weigh everything by gain. I do not. So I release you with a fair heart and the love of him you once were. You might find sadness in the memory of this day, but I dare say for a very brief time you will dismiss the recollection of it as an unprofitable dream for which it happened while you awoke. I love this last line though. May you be happy in the life you have chosen. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. May you be happy in the life you have chosen, you fat idiot. Spirit, shame me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you delight to torture me?
We will see but one shadow more.
And then they moved magically into a warm living room that was full of fire. And it wasn't on fire. Like, the people in there weren't, like, running around on fire. Oh, God! Yeah, there's a knock at the door and a man comes in.
Oh.
And he says,
Christmas delivery! I do so hope I have the right address.
Father, which one's for me?
My husband, you're as blue as the night sky and colder. Children, take these presents from your father and place them under the tree. No unwrapping or peeking until the morning, or they might all vanish in the night.
I thought I was going to freeze to the very copples out there. And not a few times did I see a fellow fall on the ice. Oh, Bella, I almost forgot I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon.
Who was it?
Yes.
How can I?
God, it was the Victorian times. They had to make their own fun, didn't they? No one would share this story this day. It was Mr. Scrooge. I passed by his office window, and as it was not shut up, he had a candle inside. I could scarcely help seeing him. His partner, Marley, lies upon the point of death, I hear, and there he sat alone, quite alone in the world on Christmas Eve.
Let's take a moment as this sinks in.
Belle? May I even knew what became of her? Spirit? Remove me from this place.
I told you these were the shadows of the things that have been, that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Remove me? Oh, excuse me. I cannot bear it. It was a crumb of undercooked potato. I told you about the fragment of cheese. Take me back. Haunt me no longer.
He turned upon the ghost and seeing that it looked upon him with a face, as I would argue most things do. Hard to look at people with your hands.
She ghosts don't have it. Oh, no, they do.
And in some strange way, there were fragments of all faces it showed him. In the struggle, Scrooge was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness he had barely the time to acknowledge. He was again stood alone in his own bedchambers before he sank into a heavy sleep. Awakening in the middle of a tough snore.
Tough snore.
Sitting up in bed to get his thoughts together, Scrooge had no occasion to be told that the bell was again upon the stroke of one. He got up softly and shuffled in his slippers to the door. The moment Scrooge's hand was on the lock, a strange voice called him by name.
Ebenezer Scrooge, come in.
Strange voice.
That is a bold choice there.
Right.
That's a bold choice.
I'm sticking with it.
Scrooge obeyed. It was his own room. There was no doubt about that, but it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green, crisp leaves of holly, mistletoe and ivy, and a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney. Heaped on the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red hot chestnuts and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with a delicious steam. And upon all this, there sat a jolly giant. Is he sat on a throne made of turkeys, game, and geese? That's insane.
And
that's
red hot chestnuts.
And red hot chestnuts. Where there's a he's definitely got one up the old. He's had
one up the old.
one of the old. Merry Christmas. There sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch and held it up to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping around the door.
I can't remember the voice.
Just pick one.
Come in, and know me better, man. I'm the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You've never seen the likes of me before.
Never!
You've never walked forth with the younger members of my family. My elder brother's born in these later years.
I don't think I have. I'm afraid I have not. Have you many brothers, Spirit?
Just the one. Oh. No, more than 1,800.
More than 1,800?
A tremendous family to provide for. Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learned a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe and hold it fast.
That's one of my favourite lines from the book there. Touch my robe and hold it fast. Creepy. We've known each other for like 30 seconds. As Scrooge touched the spirit's robe, the room, the fire, the very hour of night itself faded into the shadows, and they stood in the city streets of London on Christmas morning. They stopped outside a small home, sunk beneath towering laths, a discreet amber glow of warmth in the small windows.
Why, this is the house of my clerk, Bob Cratchit. You bless this house with your Christmas cheer.
Think of that, Bob Cratchit, who takes home but 15 bob a week himself. He pockets on Saturdays but 15 copies of his Christian name, and yet I find it within to bless his four-roomed house.
Then up rose Mrs. Cratchit, dressed out but poorly in a twice-turned gown. She laid the tablecloth, assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes. There's a lot of characters been introduced here.
Why, whatever has got your precious father, then? And your brother Tiny Tim? And Martha wasn't as late as Christmas Day by half an hour.
Here's Martha, Mother. There's such a goose. I've never seen one so big.
Are you channeling Kermit's little nephew there from the Muppet? I can't remember what he sounds like, but I'm pretty sure he sounded like that.
Why, bless your heart alive, Martha. How late you are.
Oh, a deal of work to finish up last night, and I had to clear away this morning, Mother.
What the hell is wrong with the Cratchit family? Are they all right? Jesus Lord.
I already can't remember the voice of it.
Neither can I. Mrs. Cratchit.
Never mind, so long as you're here. Sit down before the fire, my dear, and have a warm.
Peter.
No. Here's Father coming. Hide, Martha, hide.
I feel we're bordering on the edge of annoying now. I feel like people, this is definitely the scene we're going to lose people in. They're like, fuck me.
Whatever.
Unbelievable. We warned you about the fruity language. I'm really sorry. I'm not sorry. We're going to put a big... If you're listening to this with your children and you're currently going, well, we're definitely unsubscribing from the Deathly Not Patreon. We warned you. We warned you. It's late at night. We are fueled by whiskey and attempting to read A Christmas Carol from scripts on our mobile phones. I don't know why I got so angry then. I just really... I just genuinely was like, from the depths, I was like,
So Martha
hid herself, and in came Bob Cratchit, at least 3 feet of comforter hanging down before him. It's too much comforter, mate. Calm down. And his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look more seasonable. And Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. I like to brush my clothes for Christmas. Give him a good brushing. Alas for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
Oh, God.
Why? Where's our Martha?
Not coming.
Not coming? Not coming on Christmas Day? Oh, that's a mean trick to play on a poor old man. On Christmas Day of all days, I am not sure my heart could have been broken so.
It was Peter's idea, Father.
Oh, I'm sure it was, the little shit. Now
Oh, that's enough. Dinner is almost ready. Everyone go and wash those filthy hands. And how did little Tim behave?
My God, as good as gold and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting there by himself and thinks the strangest thing you've ever heard. He told me, coming home, that what he wants for Christmas is Beyblades. He just wants loads and loads of Beyblades. He doesn't care about anything else about goodwill to all men. He just wants thousands and thousands of Beyblades. He said if he gets anything to do with Yu-Gi-Oh, he'll lose his tiny mind and we'll slit our throats while we sleep.
Oh, such a good little child. We're very lucky, you know, Bob.
I know, my dear, I know. Now, would you look at this? I've got a bag full of Beyblades. Never was there a goose cooked in the history of this earth. Clearly the greatest success achieved by my dear wife since our marriage. And now for a toast. A Merry Christmas to all of us. God bless us. Beyblades for everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
Oh,
Spirit, tell me if...
I'm just letting you do it all.
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered, the child will die.
No, 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 kind spirit, say he will be spared.
If these shadows remain unchanged by the future, none other of my race will find him. What then? If he is to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population. You should have pre-ordered the Beyblades from Argos. Like every responsible father, you're a bad man. Hang on, who am I talking to? I'm talking to Ebenezer Scrooge, not Bob Cratchit. I'm 1,800 years old. Ebenezer, I'm very easily confused. Is it for you to decide what men shall live and what men shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven you are more worthless and less fit than millions like this poor man's child. I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It's a big Christmas Day. Shut up, Martha! Shut up! You'll feel the back of the branding iron again, you ungrateful wench. I'm sure if he drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge, you know he is, Robert. No one knows it better than you do.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's, not for his. Long life to him. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt. Shut up, Martha!
The children drank the toast after her, but they were very upset. Scrooge was the ogre of the family, and the mention of his name obviously sent Mrs. Cratchit into a fury. After the fury had passed away, they were 10 times merrier
Excuse
than
me.
before.
It's the sugar. That's the problem. She's just huffing sugar in the pantry.
They were not a handsome family, but they were happy, grateful, and contented with the time, which was 2 p.m.
On a Friday.
When they faded, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim until the last. It was getting dark and snowing pretty heavily, and as Scrooge and the spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fires in kitchens, parlours, and all sorts of rooms was wonderful. The ghost sped on. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while listening to the moaning of the wind, to hear a hearty laugh. It was much greater of a surprise to Scrooge to recognise it as his own nephew's, and to find himself in a bright, dry, gleaming room with the spirit by his side, looking at that same nephew with approving affability.
Ah! He said that Christmas was a humbug. As I live, he believed it too.
More shame for him then, Fred.
Ah, he's a comical old fellow, that Uncle Scrooge of yours, Fred. That's the truth. And not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offences carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him.
I'm sure he's very rich, Fred. At least you always tell me so.
Ah, what of that, my dear? His wealth is of no use to him. He doesn't do any good with it. Spunks it all on Beyblades, doesn't he? Doesn't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking, ha 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 ha, he's ever going to benefit from it.
There's no wonder the kids all hate him. If he's got all the Beyblades, he won't give him any
He
to
just won't
them.
give her any Beyblades. We apologise. This Christmas Carol sponsored by Beyblades. I do apologise. We will now suspend all mention of Beyblades.
Okay, we'll
going
move to
forth.
something else.
What of that, my dear? His wealth is of no... I have, and I feel sorry for him. I should start the line we just said. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here, he takes it into his head to dislike us, and he won't come and dine with us. What's the consequence? He doesn't lose much of a dinner.
Indeed, I think he loses a very good dinner.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it, because I haven't great faith in these young housekeepers. What do you say, Topper? Bachelor is a wretched outcast who has no right to express an opinion on the subject.
Do go on, Fred. He never finishes what he begins to say. He's such a ridiculous fellow.
I was only going to say that the consequence of his taking a dislike to us and not making merry with us is, as I think, that he loses some pleasant moments, which could do him no harm. I am sure he loses pleasanter companions than he can find in his own thoughts, either in his mouldy old office or his dusty chambers. Well, I mean to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not. I pity him. He may rail at Christmas till he dies, but he can't help thinking better of it. I defy him. If he finds me going in a good temper year after year and saying, "Oi, Uncle Scrooge, how are you?" If only it puts him in the vein to leave his clerk £50, that's something, and I think I shook him yesterday. Did his pockets jingle?
Topper!
No, enough talk of that wicked old uncle of mine, God bless him. Let's have a bit more of that Christmas spirit, that accommodating old rascal that he is. I think it's time for a Christmas game.
What a wonderful idea.
I'll drink to that. What about blind man's buff?
No, Topper never plays fair. Whenever it's his turn to be it, he always tries to catch me,
That's
even
true.
though there are many of us playing. Sometimes I swear he has eyes in his boots.
Boots. That's true. Besides, he always stumbles about the place like a lame old horse, knocking over the fire irons, tumbling over the chairs, and smothering himself in the curtains. We'd spend the remainder of the evening tidying up after him.
Oh, you picked them up then, Fred. What? That's not what she said. Oh, I'm so drunk. I'm really sorry, Fred. You always pick such wonderful games to play.
Very well, I shall. We must press on.
We cannot leave now. Fred is about to choose a game.
The night grows late, Ebenezer, and our time together is almost at an end.
Please, Spirit, 1/2 hour longer, I bear you. Only one. I shall wish to hear this new game.
Very well. 1/2 hour more you shall have.
You are very kind to me, Spirit, and for that I thank you.
Have you chosen a game for us to play, Fred?
I do believe I have, and rather a fitting one to this evening's proceedings, I fancy. It's a game called Yes and No. Well, this sounds like a riot. I have to think of something, and the rest of you must find out what it is. However, I may only answer to your question a yes or a no, as is the case.
Oh, that does sound like fun. I'll
Sarcasm.
start.
Rude.
Right. Are you thinking of an animal?
Yes.
Is it a live animal?
Yes. Is it a rather disagreeable animal? Without a doubt, yes.
Is it a savage animal?
Most of the time, yes.
Is it an animal that growls or grunts?
Oh, yes, a little too often. Does it live in London? Yes.
Is it led by anyone?
No, definitely not.
Is it ever killed in market?
No. Is it a cat? No.
A dog, then?
No.
Bear.
In London? No, it isn't any of those. It lives in London, but it isn't a cat or a dog. Does it live in a menagerie? A rather difficult question to answer, as there are those who live in this city that would boldly claim that London is a menagerie of sorts, but in fairness of the game, I will answer that question as a no. Clara, your turn.
Does this animal talk?
It does indeed, and some would argue a little too much.
Does it walk about the streets?
Length and breadth of the city.
I know what it is, Fred.
Yes?
I do believe I found it out.
Okay.
A savage animal that growls and grunts, talks and walks the streets of London.
Come on.
I know what it is.
What is it?
It's your Uncle Scrooge.
It is indeed. Well done. He has given us plenty of merriment tonight, I am sure, and it would be ungrateful to us not to drink his health. Here is a glass of mulled wine ready to raise our hand at the moment, and I say, Uncle Scrooge. Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, wherever he is. He wouldn't take it from me, but may he have it. Nevertheless, to Uncle Scrooge. Spirit, I have not mentioned this to you until now, but you appear to grow older, clearly older. Your hair is grey and your eyes aged in wisdom. Tell me, are spirits' lives so short? My life upon... I was kind of hoping you were going to jump in, but fine. My life upon this globe is very brief. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Hark, the time is drawing near.
Well, forgive me if I'm not justified in what I ask, but I see something strange, not belonging to yourself, protruding from your skirts. Is it a foot? Or a claw?
It might be a claw for all the flesh there is upon it. Look here.
You have to slap the desk, though. Dramatic.
I didn't realise I did.
Have I not taught you anything?
No.
No. All that work, microphone technique, don't punch the desk, keep your trousers on. From the foldings of the robe, it brought 2 children, wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, miserable. They knelt down at the feet and clung onto the outside of the garments. They were a boy and a girl, ragged and scowling, where graceful youth should have filled their features out, and touched them with freshest tints a stale and shriveled hand, like that of an age, had pinched and twisted them and pulled them into shreds. Spirit, are they yours?
They are man's, and they cling to me, appealing from their fathers. This boy is ignorance, this girl is want. Beware them both.
Have they no refuge or resource?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Ooh. Oh, he spat that back in his face, didn't he? Yeah. The bells struck 12. Scrooge looked about for the ghost and saw it not. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him.
The phantom slowly, gravely, silently approached. It was shrouded in a deep black garment, which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched hand. But for this it would have been difficult to detach its figure from the night and separate it from the darkness by which it was surrounded.
Am I in the presence of the spirit of Christmas yet to come?
The spirit answered not, but pointed onward with its hand.
You are about to show me the shadows of things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Is that not so, spirit?
The upper portion of the garment was contracted for an instant in its folds, as if the spirit had inclined its head. That was the only answer he received. Scrooge feared the silent shape so much that his legs trembled beneath him, and he found that he could hardly stand when he prepared to follow it.
Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear your company, and do it with a thankful heart. The night is waning fast, and it is precious time to me, I know.
Lead on, spirit.
The phantom moved away as it had come towards him. Scrooge followed in the shadow of its dress, which bore him up, he thought, and carried him along. They scarcely seemed to enter the city, but the city rather seemed to spring up around them and encompass them of its own act. The spirit stopped beside 2 men of business, huddled beneath their umbrellas to escape a heavy rain.
I ran out of breath with the heavy rain. I nearly got it all the way through there.
I don't know much about it either way. I only know he died last...
No, I nearly stole your line then. Shall I start again?
I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
He died sometime last night, I believe.
Why? What was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die.
God knows.
What has he done with his money?
I haven't heard. Left it to his company, perhaps. He hasn't left it to me. That's all I know.
It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, but upon my life, I don't know anyone to go to it. Suppose we make up a party and volunteer. I don't mind going if our lunch is provided.
I'll offer to go if anybody else will. When I come to think of it, I'm not at all sure that wasn't his most particular friend. But we used to stop and speak whenever we met.
Very good, very good. Biting cold, isn't it?
Yes. But season of Christmas time, you're not a skater, I suppose.
No, I could never get skates that fit. Exterminate! Exterminate!
Spirit, I am confused as to why you should attach such important conversations between 2 very strange characters from various British sci-fi series. They could scarcely have any bearing upon the death of my old partner. Completely forgot to do Scrooge's voice then. Jacob Marley. But that was, like, there's a consistency here. You know, like, there's consistency in the performances.
Don't want people to get confused.
For that was the past and your province is the future.
Nor, I don't know who I'm becoming, I don't know who I'm sounding like.
Nor can I think of anyone who is...
I sound like an old wizard now.
Nor can I think
taken over
of
by a Dalek.
anyone who is immediately connected. with myself to whom it could apply.
Quiet and dark beside him stood the phantom. It made him shudder and feel very cold. They left the busy scene and went into an obscure part of the town where Scrooge had never penetrated before.
Is that what it says?
Yes.
Wow.
Although he recognised its situation and its bad repute.
Where are you going, love? I'm just going to go penetrate a part of town I've never penetrated before.
He went quite far through the town, through some dirty stuff, and then he found a man and a woman with a heavy bundle in their shop.
Spirit, this is an area of the city I am unfamiliar with. It is a poor, run-down quarter that lies many miles from my lodgings. I am unlikely to be found here.
Look here, old Joe. Here's a chance. If we haven't all three met here without meaning it.
You couldn't have met in a better place. Come into the parlour. You were all made free for long ago. You know, and you two ain't strangers. We're all suitable to our calling. We're well matched. Let the charwoman alone be the first, let the laundress alone be the second, and let the undertaker's man alone to be the third. What odds then? What odds, Mrs. Gilbert? Every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did.
Jesus Christ, what is
True
that?
indeed. No man nor so.
That face, where's your top lip gone?
Wow. Well, then don't stand around as if you was afraid, woman. Who's the wiser? We're not going to pick holes in each other's coats, I suppose.
We should hope not.
It's the same voice you were doing for the gentleman. Just less lips involved. It's a mania like I've never seen before. Who's the worst for a loss of few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed.
If he wanted to keep them after he was dead, the wicked old Scrooge, why wasn't he more natural in his lifetime?
I just saw the name Undertaker, and this is what I thought I'd
Yeah.
go with.
If he had been, he'd have had someone to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying, gasping out his last there, alone by himself.
Can I just appreciate for a
Yeah.
second, struck with death?
Struck with death.
That's the truest word that ever was spoke.
That's what the charwoman called a cricket bat.
It's a judgment on him.
Struck with death.
I wish it was a little heavier judgment, and it should have been you may depend upon it. If I could have laid my hands upon anything else, open a bundle, old Joe, and let me know the value of it. Speak out plain. We're not afraid to be the first, nor afraid for them to see it. We know pretty well what we was helping ourselves before we met here. I believe, and it's no sin. Open the bundle, Joe.
Sheet or two, pencil case. A pencil case?
It's the only thing on his desk that wasn't nailed down.
Pair of sleeve buttons, a brooch. I've no great value. That's your account. And I wouldn't give another sixpence if I was to be boiled for not doing it. Who's next?
I am here.
This is more like it. Sheets and showers, silver teaspoons, a pair of sugar tongues, and a few boots. Anyway, my dear, I always give too much to the ladies. It's a weakness of mine, and that's the way I ruin myself. As your account, if you ask me for another penny, and meant it an open question, repent of being so liberal, and I knock off half a crown.
Now undo my bundle, Joe.
What you call these?
Dickens.
Dickens, you don't mean to say you took him down, rings and all, with him lying there?
Yeah, I do. Why not?
Oh, you were born to make your fortune, and you'll certainly do it.
I certainly shan't hold my hand when I can get anything in by reaching it for the sake of such a man as he was, I promise you. Don't you muck up those blankets now.
It's blankets.
Who else is, do you think, likely to take coal without 'em? I dare say.
Oh, I didn't die of anything catching today, eh?
Don't you be afraid of that. I ain't so fond of his company that I loiter about him for such things if he did. You may look through that shirt till your eyes ache, but you won't find an hole in it nor a threadbare place. It's the best he had, and a fine one too. They'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
What do you mean wasted it?
Put it on him to be buried in, to be sure. Somebody was fool enough to do it. I took it off again. I put him in an old one. It's quite as becoming to the body. can't look uglier than he did in that one.
Spirit, this is terrible. We are nothing but obscene demons marketing the very corpse itself. A few coins in the pocket.
This is the end of it, see? He frightened everyone away from him when he was alive to profit us when he was dead.
Spirit, I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends now that way. He's not the sharpest, is he? No. Everything so far involving him, and he's like, oh, I wouldn't be found here. Scrooge coiled in horror. Or terror. in terror, for the scene had changed beneath him. And he now almost touched a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which, beneath a ragged sheet, there lay something covered up. Scrooge glanced before the phantom. Its steady hand was pointing toward the head of the bed, the cover so carelessly adjusted. The slightest raising of it, the motion of a finger upon Scrooge's part, would have disclosed the face. The cat was staring at the door, the sound of gnawing rats beneath the hearthstone. What they wanted in the room of death, why they were so restless and disturbed, Scrooge did not dare to think. Spirit, this is a fearful place. In leaving it, I shall not learn its lesson. I shall not leave its lesson. That would be the whole point of the story undone. If I leave here, I've learned nothing. Roll your ghosts up nice and thin and pop them up your bumhole. Let me see some tenderness connected with a death, or this dark chamber will be forever present to me. The ghost conducted him through several streets familiar to his street, and along they went, finding themselves before Bob Cratchit's house. The noisy little Cratchits were still as statues in one corner, sat looking up at Peter, who had a book before him. The mother and her daughters were engaged in sewing. I must stop for a moment. The colour hurts my eyes. They're better again now. It makes them weak by candlelight, and I wouldn't show the weak eyes to your father when he comes home. Not for the world. It must be near his time.
I think he's walked a little slower than he used these last few evenings, Mother.
God, I hate Peter Cratchit. Hate him. Oh.
That's so mean.
Imagine living with you. Imagine having you like, morning, Peter. Morning. It's Peter Cratchit.
I love you.
I love you. My name's Peter Cratchit. Give me a cuddle, Father. Shut up, Peter. No one wants to hear your stupid voice.
Rude.
Hate it. Hate him. Hate him. Bob Cratchit comes in.
Oh.
Does he?
No.
What's happening? Where did we get to?
Well, he can come in if you want me.
Yeah, I have known him walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder very fast indeed.
And so have I. Often.
Awful. Should have been you, Peter. We lost Tiny Tim and we had to keep you. But he was very light to carry, and his father loved him so that he was no trouble. No trouble at all. And there is your father at the door. Oh, how fast you've all worked. They look wonderful. Be long done before Sunday, I reckon. Sunday? You went today then, Robert? Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My little child. I met Master Fred on my way home. Scrooge's nephew, a man of such extraordinary kindness, whom I had met only once before, and who, upon meeting me in the street today, noticed I was looking down. And he inquired as to what had happened to distress me so, for he is the most pleasant-spoken gentleman you ever heard. So I told him. This is an awkward moment here, because I feel like Fred was probably just going, how's it going, mate? And he, expects the British response. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Like literally you could have had, like, all of your limbs blown off in a catastrophic accident. If someone asks you that you don't know that well, you are right. You go, yeah, not bad, not bad. But he's like, he just lays it out there. Bam.
Oh.
Tiny Tim's died. I'm having a bad time. And Fred's just like, oh, man. Oh, awkward. And he says, I'm heartily sorry for your loss, Mr. Cratchit. Heartily sorry. If I can be of service to you in any way, this is where I live. Maybe I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. Maybe Fred is a good person. They're out there. Somewhere. I know they are. Some of them are listening to us right now.
Oh.
Good people. Now, it wasn't so much the sake of what he might be able to do for us, so much as his kind way, that this was quite delightful. It really seemed as if he had known our Tiny Tim, and felt him with us. I'm sure he's a good soul.
You would have been sure of it, my dear, if you saw and spoke to him. I shouldn't be at all surprised, mark what I say, if he got Peter a better situation. And that's a cruel thing to do. He's given no indication he's going to come and help Peter Cratchit out. As soon as he meets Peter Cratchit's going to be like, hello, and he's going to be like, oh my God, what is wrong with this child's voice?
And then Peter will be keeping company with someone and setting up for himself.
This house is a nightmare.
Get along with you.
What is wrong with these children? They've all got rickets, that terrible Victorian disease. This household is full of lockjaw. None of them can talk properly. They're all like... I'm sensing inbreeding in the Cratchits. The nub of the scene, I would say, is that Cratchit is very sad. Tiny Tim has died, and he's absolutely devastated that he's left with Peter and Martha. Because of all of them, you know, even though Tiny Tim's legs were knackered, he could talk at least. At least he could have a good conversation. The other two, they don't know what's going
Useless.
on. They don't know what's going on. They're like dogs at best that can make noises. They're just rolling around in their
Not
own
even as
filth.
clever as dogs.
What's wrong, Peter? Are you all right, boy? Where's Martha? Oh, not again. Martha! Martha! Martha, what are you doing? Why? No, God, no,
Don't roll in that, Martha.
Don't roll in. Oh, no, you've murdered the children. Mr. Move again. Why are you wearing that boy's head as a hat, Martha? Oh, my. Oh, no, you've got his lungs on like slippers. This is that. Martha! Oh, God. The ghost conveyed him. As before, through a different time. There seemed no order in these latter visions, save that they were in the future, and into the resorts of businessmen, but showed him not himself. I have no idea what I just said, but there were words. This court, through which we now hurry. Who am I right now? I'm Ebenezer Scrooge, that's who I am. This court, through which we hurry now, is where my place of occupation is, and has been for a length of time. I see the house. Let me behold what I shall be in days to come. The spirit stopped. The hand was pointing elsewhere. The house is yonder. Why do you point away? The spirit stood amongst some graves, and pointed down to one. He advanced towards it trembling. The phantom was exactly as it had been, but he dreaded that he saw new meaning in its solemn shape. Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they the shadows of the things that may be only?
Still, the ghost pointed downward to the grave by which it stood.
Men's courses will foreshadow certain ends, to which, if persevered, they may leave. But if the courses be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus with what you shall be.
The spirit was immovable as ever. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went, and following the finger, read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name.
Ebenezer Scrooge! My God, there's a plot twist I didn't see coming in 1,000 years. Hear me, spirit, I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been but for this intercourse. Why show me this if I am past all hope, past all penetration? Certain parts of the town I've never been before. Good spiritual nature intercedes me and pities me. Assure me that I may yet change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life. I will honour Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. Not possible.
What?
Not
No.
possible.
You can't live in 3 different aspects of time simultaneously. You'd be unravelled by reality.
Oh, the spirit of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone.
Ebenezer echoed off.
Stone.
And he was gone.
I'm back. Back in my own house, my own rooms. Yes, the bedpost is my own, the bed is my own, the room is my own. Best and happiest of all, the time before me is my own. I will live in the past, the present, and the future, despite the fact it's not possible. The spirits of all three. You've said this before. You've just said this. Oh, Jacob Marley. Heaven and the Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, old Jacob, on my knees. The shadows of the things that would have been may be dispelled. I know they will. I know they will. I don't know what to do. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. I'm as giddy as a drunken man. A Merry Christmas to everybody and a Happy New Year to the world. It's true. It's all happened. I don't know what day of the month it is. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't care. I don't know anything. I'm quite a baby. Never mind. I don't care. I'd rather be a baby.
He was checked in his transport by the churches, ringing out the lustiest peals he'd ever heard.
Long, 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 long. Long,
Running to the
long,
window,
long, long.
he opened it and put out his head. No fog, no mist. Clear, bright, jovial, stirring, cold, piping for the blood to dance to. Golden sunlight, heavenly sky, sweet fresh air.
Glorious, glorious.
Scrooge's eye fell upon a boy in Sunday clothes.
His eye fell upon a boy. Like just... Oh, my eyes! This is what happened when you live on a diet of rich pork fat and piss.
Oh, God.
Oh, my eyes falling out.
It's landed on my Beyblade.
Oh, the forbidden word. My young boy, what's today?
Eh?
What's today, my fine fellow?
Today? It's Christmas Day.
It's Christmas Day. I haven't missed the spirit. I've done it all in one night. They can do anything they like. Of course they can. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fellow.
Hello?
Do you know the poulterers in the next street but one at the corner?
I should hope I did.
An intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Do you know whether they sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one.
What? The one as big as me?
Oh, what a delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck, the one as big as you.
No, sir, it's hanging there now.
Is it? Go and buy it.
You're having a laugh.
No, I'm in earnest. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it here, that I may give them the direction where to take it. Come back with the man and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes and I'll give you half a crown.
What if you don't, though? And I look like a boy who cried turkey.
Go get the turkey. Let's go get the turkey.
The boy was off like a shot, the tails of his scarf billowing in the wind as he went.
I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's. He shan't know who sent it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Never has been such a joke as sending it to Bobsby. You're not kidding. Because that takes some planning, man. You can't just thrust a massive bastard turkey into the house of someone on Christmas.
You mispronounced basted.
Basted turkey. You can't just go, here's a turkey.
We'll be round
Like Christmas
in
afternoon.
a couple of minutes.
Yeah, get that turkey in the oven.
Not going to fit in their oven.
But they don't even know. Did they have an oven? They might not even have, she might have boiled that little goose that they had.
Wow.
Yeah, I reckon you could boil a goose.
So he's back to his selfish ways already.
He's just been a very massively inconsiderate Scrooge right out the gate. The hand in which he wrote Bob address was not a steady one, but write it he did, somehow, and went downstairs to open the street door, readying for the coming of the poulterer's man. I've never met a what do you do for a living? I'm a poulterer's man. As he stood there waiting for his arrival, the knocker caught his eye.
Oi.
My door knocker.
Was it the poulterer's mum?
Poulterer's mam's knockers caught his eye. My door knocker, it scarcely looked as it did before. What an honest expression it has on its face. And it's a wonderful knocker. I shall love it as long as I live. The turkey! And what a turkey indeed. Oh, I shall... More turkeys, please. I shall love it as long as I live. The turkey! And what a turkey indeed. He could have never stood upon his legs, that bird. He would have snapped them off short in a minute like snicks of sealing wax. Why, it's impossible to take that to Camden Town. You must have a cab.
Are you feeling well, Mr. Scrooge?
Never better, my boy, never better. A Merry Christmas to you. And here's half a crown for your trouble.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Scrooge. Merry Christmas.
And a Merry Christmas to you, my lad.
All right.
Scrooge dressed himself in all of his best, and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth, as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present, and walking with his hands before him, Scrooge regarded everyone with a delighted smile. He had not gone far, when coming on towards him he beheld the portly gentleman who had walked into his counting-house the day before, and said,
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe.
Sent a pang across his heart to think he's getting on a bit. He should be worried at this point. That'd be a really dark ending to the story, wouldn't it? Scrooge and Marley, boom, dead in the snow. Oh, no, an awkward ending to the story. He would look upon him when they met, but he knew what path lay straight before him, and he took it. My dear sirs, how are you? I do hope you succeeded yesterday. It's very kind of you. A Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that is my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon, and will you have the goodness of accepting this donation of... Whisper.
Lord bless me, my dear Mr. Scrooge.
Yes.
Are you serious?
I am very serious, if you please, and not a farthing more. Excuse me, I lost my page in the script there. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favour?
My dear sir, I don't know what to say to such kindness.
Don't say anything. Please come and see me. Will you come and see me?
I will. I will.
I am much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Thank you. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards the nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock. Is your master at home, my dear? He said to a young chambermaid.
Yes, sir.
And where is he?
He's in the dining room, sir, along with mistress. I'll show you in if you please.
Oh, thank you. He knows me well. I'll show myself in, my dear. He turned the dining room lock gently and sidled his face in round the corner. They were looking at some excellent sidling. I wish the people at home could see that sidling. It was such a good performance. They were at the table, which was spread out in great array, for these young housekeepers are always nervous on such points and like to see that everything is right. Fred? Uncle, what are you? I have come to dinner, Fred, if you'll have a silly old fool. Have you? Have you? Why, bless my soul, of course we'll have you. There's a place set for you every year. Come in, come in.
Dear heart alive, how his niece by marriage started. Let him in they did. It is a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. He was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. His niece looked just the same. So did Topper when he came.
Hello there.
So did the plump sister when she came.
All right, lads.
So did everyone
Let's
when
get
they
wild.
came. Wonderful party.
Shut,
Wonderful
shuts.
games.
Shut.
Wonderful unanimity.
Unanimity.
And wonderful happiness.
Yeah. Scrooge was early at the office the next morning. He was early there, if only he'd be there first, and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he had his heart set on the most, probably. And he did it, yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob, 15:15. No Bob. He was a full 18.5 minutes behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open, that he might see him come into the office. The clerk hurried by the window. His hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen, as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
Robert Cratchit, what do you mean by coming here at this time of day?
I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
You are. Yes, I think you are. Step this way, if you please.
It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir.
I'll tell you what, my friend. I am not going to stand with this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, I am about to raise your salary.
Pardon?
A Merry Christmas, Bob. A Merry Christmas. My good fellow than I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavour to assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Delicious. You don't get smoking bishop these days. It sounds good. I'd go for a bowl of smoking bishop. Bob, make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, my dear friend.
Scrooge was better than his word.
Yeah.
He did it all and infinitely more.
Yeah.
And to Tiny Tim, who didn't die, he was
Why
a
didn't he
second
die?
father.
What?
Because Scrooge looked after him and gave him more
Cured
good
his
things.
cured his terminal disease that he had in the
Does this
Victorian
mean that
times.
it's Scrooge's fault that Tiny Tim dies?
Well, yeah, I guess it's the idea is that Scrooge doesn't look after the Cratchits very well, and due to the poor living conditions, he doesn't die. But
Indirectly, Scrooge's
I
fault.
question how good the medicine, and you know. I mean, he might just have a cold.
Yeah, fair.
Like they couldn't afford any Lemsip, so
Fair.
Scrooge just bought him a load of Lemsip, and then they were all right. Please carry on. I was really enjoying this. Wrap up. Sorry for pulling it apart in such a...
Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master,
Nice.
and as good a man as the good old city knew. Say Goodmore. Oh, wait. Or any other good old city, town, or borough. In the good old world.
Some people laughed to see the attention in him.
That's not it.
Some people laughed. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he never let them... Oh, my Lord. Oh, it's the last page. Dorian, you can do this. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh, for he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, at which some people did not have their fill of laughter in the outset. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. Unfortunately, Scrooge didn't listen to the sound of his heart laughing, and was dead a week later from a massive coronary event. He had no further intercourse with the spirits, although he did penetrate them on several occasions. And afterwards, it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well if any man alive possessed the knowledge. And may that truly be said of us all. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
as Peter Cratchit observed, as Martha observed, Jesus Christ, Martha, put the fire down. Oh, the cities of...
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
The end.
Oh, man. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Very dignified performance. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah? Blown off some steam?
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
I especially like the bit about the B word.
So, hopefully from hearing this, you have gone, man, that was a raging hot mess. And you can maybe appreciate the work that goes into the, shall we say, slightly more sensible and straight readings of ghost stories that happen in here. This is going to be uploaded pretty much unedited. Yeah, good times, right? Thanks for joining us here on the Deathly Dark Patron. More civilized uploads to commence. I think I'm gonna upload the original Christmas Carol that we did. So if you've gone, oh, I really want to hear Christmas Carol performed in a respectful, with great performances from all the actors we had, not just me and Mrs. Deathly here, shambolically drunk on whiskey and full of greasy takeaway food. Then I'll upload the I'll post the link to the Christmas Carol video that we did to Christmas. Was it Christmas 2020, wasn't it? No, was it? Yes.
Yeah.
Christmas 2020. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago.
2 years ago.
What year is it?
It's 22.
Oh man, time means nothing anymore. So yeah, you can go and enjoy that, and also hopefully before the new year I'll have East Drive up as well. It won't take me long to edit it. I've made the project. I just need to sit down. I need to plant my butt in the chair.
You are not good at sitting down.
I am not. There's been so much to do, and then the bits when I didn't have much to do, I was nearly dead, which was it's difficult to do stuff when you're nearly dead. There's not a lot of,
Ain't that a fact?
Traditionally when you're nearly dead, you kind of just lay still and go, take me.
Yeah.
Take me.
Like
He
Tiny
didn't
Tim.
take me this time, which is we're going to maybe talk about this on the podcast. I think we'll laugh about it a little bit because I think we have to laugh in the face of it, otherwise it's quite frightening.
Otherwise they'll end up like Martha.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Tell your friends. Spread the word. More people. We'd like more people here. On the Patreon. For not for maybe selfish reasons. We're looking at maybe moving to another space because I don't know if you know. Maybe we can talk about this briefly. They like it when we talk about stuff. They like insights of what we do. Someone sort of said to me, what do you use the money from Patreon for? And basically, we use it to pay the rent for this room. The money that we're getting in from Patreon at the moment pretty much covers the rent for this podcasty, recordy, voiceover studio space. And that's very gratefully met. We've got our eyes on a slightly larger space that's maybe a little bit less damp. And it's a little bit damp in here. We have a dehumidifier that pulls 5 litres of water out of the air every 48 hours. It's not pleasant. So yeah, we're looking at maybe getting a larger space.
And we have to turn it off to record things.
You have to turn it off to record things. So now I can feel the damp on I can feel it on me. Like we've been sat in here and I know that when I turn that on, it's going to say, I think it's normally when the air is clean, it says something like 45. It's going to definitely read 80 something.
Oh,
I
Lord,
can smell it as well. But yeah, bigger space, more recording facilities. And I think if we can like double the amount of patrons we've got in here, then that'll help us get to that place where we'll have enough coming in every month to pay for a bigger space. Yeah, we ain't taking this money and cheffing off to Vegas.
Certainly not.
Not yet. Give it time. Let's quadruple the number of people in here, and that's when we'll start buying ourselves some fine blings. Hand sanitize.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Do it in the microphone. Give them the sound. Oh, lovely.
Oh,
in the cuts. Martha? Peter? Say Merry Christmas, Mrs. Deathley.
Merry Christmas, Mrs.
Merry Christmas, Mrs. Dudley.
Merry Christmas.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.